Oh, well.
And we're
Hopefully
live.
it freezes me in a good way.
Yeah. So we're having some technical difficulties here with the screens freezing and stuff, but we'll get through it. Everybody, excited to have you here, Toby. Thank you for joining us. I think this is like episode 5. I'm not keeping track, but I think it's 5. And I wanted to just thank you for coming on with us. Agents Who Win, we're just trying to provide some leadership ideas back to people and help agents win in the community, win in life and other areas. And, you're coming in as a business coach and, kind of around our industry as well from mortgages and now getting into a coaching platform. So I just want to say thanks for coming and, take it off.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Yeah, leadership and the name of your group, Agents Who Win. I like the name of it. So I like what you're doing, a lot, and I've been a big fan of yours in the market for a long time.
Thank you. And you've invited me to a lot of events that you put on and host to kind of share and give back. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate you reaching out to kind of jump on here and kind of give back to us as well. So it's a nice give and take there. So you're doing a lot of coaching for agents and more business professionals and stuff. So I wanted to kind of just dive into that. What is the typical coaching for you entail? Because it's not just like sales and contractual driven. It's more like life and everything else.
That's exactly right. It's all personal development, I like to say, right? So, my background is in the banking industry, in finance. And so I spent a couple decades in the banking world, and I was an individual contributor, a salesperson myself for many years, and then kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder, if you will, right. And ended up leading salespeople, and then eventually leading other sales leaders and so on. So leadership is like I mentioned, is near and dear to my heart. The topic of how to be a better leader. I think it's something that doesn't happen just because you are around a long time or just because you happen to be the only person that'll volunteer for the job, right? Or you want to get some manager, title on your business card, but rather, there's a lot of reasons. Right? That's right. That's right. Right. Some people just want the moniker, But the whole world of personal development to me is truly what makes or breaks. And we're talking about business, right? So not that there's a lot of different measures of success in life. Business and money certainly are not the only measures, but when it comes to true success, consistent success, hitting the goals that you want to achieve, I believe that the playing field is open for everyone. And I think what makes the difference is how much individuals really work on developing themselves, developing, like you mentioned, not only their business plans and their business skills per se, but their mindset, their attitude, their connection skills, their kindness factor, really working on being the best person that you can be. And I know you're a big fan of personal development, because I follow you on social media. Jim Rohn is one of my favorite personal development mentors. And he always says, work harder on yourself, right? You like Jim Rohn. I don't know if I've seen you quote him, but he's, he's just great. And he always said, work harder on your, oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Do you listen to those kind of things out of curiosity? Not to go off tangent, but do you listen to those kind of CDs, or did you used to listen to those kind of
I try to find the podcast on them and stuff, because it's a lot of good advice in there. I mean, my mom got me into Tony Robbins, back when I was in high school, and so we've walked the fire, we've done all that stuff, 25, 30 years ago. Yeah. So it's like when people say they're walking fire today, I'm like, I've been there, done that. We've done that. I follow a lot of those guys because it's just the simple things that they talk about. It's little quotes that, their CD comes into like a 5-word quote that is like, it can be life impactful. And so that's why I listen to that.
Totally. Yeah, it's big stuff. And I think to you and I, it seems like old hat, like you said, but everybody's on their own journey. And so it's kind of funny that, I do a lot of workshops and seminars, not in this world, but in normal pre-COVID world. And it was funny because I'd always try to come up pre-regular. Yeah. I used to try to come up with like new material and new ways to say the same thing, because I'm thinking everybody by now must have heard all of these little adages, and everybody must just be sick to death of hearing about work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and all these things. But to your point, some of us have been at it a long time, and other people are just now really entering that world, or that phase in their life where they're really starting to look inward, right? And trying to figure out what makes them tick and how they can bring the most value to the world and all that good stuff. So that's a big deal that was it your mom, you said, turned you on to Tony Robbins when you were young?
Yep.
That's a big deal, Todd. No, that explains a lot. No wonder you're so successful. It's true though. It's a big, that's a big deal at a young age, much less that you absorbed it. Because people I joke, but it's true story. People used to try to turn me on to Tony Robbins. Gosh, it took me into my 30s before I really, where it started clicking, like, oh yeah, this is more than just a hype up kind of snake oily kind of, so if there's anybody watching that's like, it's kind of like, that's just goofy and it's weird and it seems like phony baloney, I would tell you, you're just not at a place in your life yet where it means much to you, but hopefully there will be a place or time, right? Wouldn't you agree? It's like, you'll get there some point.
Spot on. I mean, we've got, whatchamacallit, my old business partner and I, back in our early 20s, we would go to the Tony Robbins events and spend the $5,000 to go see him for the 4 days or whatever it was. And, he locks you in the room. And, and I wish I could have gone and seen Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and these other guys. I think I did see Zig on like one of his 1 hour shows when he was there with like 8 people. And I still listen to Zig sometimes too. And I just, I hear his voice in the background talking, and like, just his accent, or whatever you want to call it, his country dialect. It was so cool the way he talks.
Yeah, his dialect.
I would repeat that in the back of my head sometimes.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. And they all talk about leadership. And I know you told your audience we'd kind of chat a little bit about leadership and how leadership can really help you when it comes to, obviously, as your group is centered around being a successful real estate agent, being successful in the real estate business. And there's a lot of tie-ins. Certainly team leaders and growing or growing a downline and building a team is one aspect of leadership. But there's also a lot to be said for just leading yourself. The word leader sometimes can be misused in exchange for manager, which are two totally different things in my opinion. I don't know about you. Do you think manager and leader connotate two different things?
They do, because leadership means they are like you said, they're the same thing, but they mean two totally different aspects. Because if I'm a manager, I'm going to sit here and just direct people. If I'm leading them, they're following me because of the way my business style is, and they're there for a reason.
Yep. And John Maxwell, who I do a lot of workshops around, who's written 80 plus books or what have you on a topic of leadership. I think he puts it best. He said, leadership, if you had to define it or sum it up, leadership is influence. And I think that's about sums it up, because I think even if you don't have a team or have any aspiration and you're an agent watching and you don't want to build a team, that's certainly cool, right? There's no rule that says you have to do that. But do you lead? Are you a leader just in your own life and in your own business, right? Do you think that the person that you're going on a listing presentation with tomorrow, do you think they want to hire a leader by having the traits of a leader, or do they want to hire a follower? I guess if we interviewed 100 people, right, 99 would say, no, I want the leader. I want the person that's going to be that decisive agent. I want the person that's confident, that knows their stuff, that's competent, that's knowledgeable, right? All those great things. And so there's a lot of aspects to being a strong individual and a strong leader yourself and having those qualities. What makes a great leader to you? Because go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry, I was going to say, as an individual agent going in, you're leading your listings, you're leading your buyers. And, like you said, if I was we were just on a listing appointment right before this, and, if we let the seller take control, we're now working for him versus him working for us. And we need to lead that listing appointment in the right direction and present ourselves as an authority figure. That's how you can command the price that you want and get the listing at the price you want, so it will sell and the direction that you want everyone to go. You can do that. Cool. If not, that's a 1-year listing. It's just going to come off the market.
That's right. Because if they don't trust you, if they don't have the confidence that
Yep.
you have you know what you're talking about, yeah, they're going to haggle with you. And yeah, there's so many things that go along with it. I was going to ask you, you've obviously built and have had a very successful team for a very long time. And I know now you're at a new endeavor, a new company, and you're building even a bigger team.
Yeah.
What do you think I love, like I said, I'm a student of leadership, but I learn as many clients as I have, I learn from every single one. So in your world and in your life, why do you think you're so successful as a leader and is successful influencing people on your team?
I mean, we've been doing this for a very long time, and a lot of it's going to stem back from, following my parents back in the business and seeing how they ran brokerages, because they did own C21s and red carpets, and they've managed, people and have run businesses. So I think a lot of it comes out of that. But also wanting to keep and I think also part of its reputation. I don't go around and sit here and scream at every deal that we're going on. I mean, you've got to keep control of I have a high temper, which can happen sometimes, but especially dealing with some of the people we deal with. But if you can go back on everything that you're doing and just keep an even keel and and do that, that's going to help people come around you more. And we're also trying to teach. Yep. And every transaction that we do, we're learning from others while we're giving back to others, whether they're in our brokerage or they're just another person we're doing a transaction with. Ironically, I was talking with an agent yesterday on the way he presented something to me. Buyer just wanted, the price at this. And the next day I was having a conversation with him. He goes, well, the buyer needs this because they just lost 10 grand on this. They just lost 15,000 on this. I'm like, if you could have presented it to me that way the day before, we would have had a much nicer conversation.
Would have had it. Yeah.
And so it's like just giving that back to them. Because then it helped me present it to my seller. It's like writing the buyer letter of, well, why we love your house. Tell me why we need to drop our price 10 grand, for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Appraisals, whatever.
Yeah. Give the why, give the why behind it. Yeah. It makes a lot more sense. It's interesting too. And I don't know what your personal philosophy is, but I think that all these traits that we're talking about, be it, paying it forward, helping other people, being a great communicator, being confident, those are all skills, in my opinion, hence why I left my corporate job to become a business coach full time. I obviously believe it, or I wouldn't have put all my chips on black to put my money where my mouth is. But right. I believe that all of those skills can be improved and are learned. I think, and studies have proven this time and again, that certainly some of us are born with more of a propensity to be more maybe extroverted, or we have different decision-making skills just in our DNA. But 80% of how we act and what we are is all learned behavior, or not learned in some cases. So right. I think it's pretty cool that, in other words, if somebody's watching today, and I'm sure there is somebody watching that has either felt like they've lost their mojo, or maybe they've just never achieved at the level that they know deep down, they can make more and close more transactions than they've been closing. They just haven't figured out how to put all those pieces together. Right. I would strongly suggest that they don't need to hire a coach. You can work on it yourself if you're that kind of self-motivated person, that you can read some books, listen to some DVDs, listen to some YouTube videos. Nowadays, everything's on their phone, so it's so easy, right? But give yourself some mind food, and it'll all start meshing together. It's hard because and I know you have a leadership style where you coach your team. You really help them and advise them and give guidance, which some managers and leaders don't. So that's another reason why you're so successful. But when it comes down to really trying to the brass tacks and figure out what's going on in your business, 90% of the time when a real estate agent hires me, they're starting off, and I can always tell, you might feel this too, I can always tell that they want the secret script, or they want the right. Time blocking, do I post on Thursdays at 3:25, and if I do it then all these leads are going to start coming in. They want that, even though they know, they're smart, they know that it doesn't work like that, but they want the special ingredient, right? The special thing. And I'm it just comes down to running the same plays, doing the right things, even when no one's watching, like you said, just doing it because that's the right way to do things. and it will work out. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It doesn't happen immediately or like you flip a switch, but it will work. No question about it. The sooner you start too, the sooner you'll see results.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of coaching out there for real estate, and I think it's like you've got some that the Mike Ferry who teaches you FSBOs and expireds. If that's your key, go after that coach. If you need like personal development, real estate coaching, we talk to someone like yourself. I've had a couple coaches over the last 15 years, and one I was with for the last 8 years. Her style was a little bit of everything, so it worked because I need help in every area. And I laugh because one of my cohorts in Tennessee goes, you've already got all the systems down, so why do you think you need more coaching, or why do you think you need this? And I was laughing because I'm like, we always want to strive to make things better. But hey, is it Thursday at 3:00 that I'm going to have all the leads come in if I post the video? If we had that, obviously you'd be a millionaire in a day just because you had that secret script.
That's right. Let me know if anybody's watching and they've got that figured out, or what lead, where you buy the leads or where you post the advertisement. Yeah, let me know, and we'll all jump on board, and we will. Right. We'll be good. But it all goes back to running this. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I remember Mike Ferry in one of his seminars goes, and everyone always asks, what's the best time to call a FSBO or call an expired? And is it 9 to 10, 8 to 12, whatever? He goes, just pick up the phone. There's not an ideal time. It's just you got to pick up the phone. Because if it's from 4 to 6, everyone's going to do that. You just got to pick up the phone.
That's right.
And so it's just doing it and getting the repetition going. And once you do that, then you're going to be successful on anything you're trying to do.
That's right. I had a coach years ago. Funny story. And I still am like this. Like my coach I have now, I'm still a thorn in his side because I'm very, I start, maybe somebody watching can relate. I have a lot of ideas. And so I like to start a lot of things at the same time, which really dilutes all my effort, makes things really difficult on myself. I don't like to start one thing and then see it through to fruition. I like to start 50 things all at once. So I'm always, thinking of things anyways. And this one coach, his whole focus was on just trying to get me to like pick a lane, stick in the lane, stay in the lane, don't start something new. And so his line to me, the reason I say all that is his line was, I'd say, well, on my weekly call, I go, okay, so I'm thinking of, what do you think? I could do this over here, or I could do this over here. And he'd be like, yes. I'm like, no, okay, so then I could do this or this. He's like, yes. He's like, whatever, just take action. Yeah, just do it. Just do something. Right. Yeah, he's like, you're so in between of all these things. He's like, yeah, sure, yes. Just the answer is always yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do that. Do that. Just keep doing that. Yep. Well, I pay him a lot of money just to say yes every week.
Oh, that's why I love coaches, because they're going to basically agree with you and get it going. Now, I will say there's also style of they're getting you to move forward too.
That's right.
They will, like with all the coaches I've had, not all of them, I've only had a few coaches, but they rein you in because I'm all over the place trying to do stuff. And it's like, let's pick something, concentrate for 90 days, get that done, then go on to the next thing. Do a mind dump on a yellow pad or whatever. And then, all right, look at that sheet, throw a dart at it and pick that topic. And let's focus on that for the next 30 or 90 days, because
exactly right.
out there stuff that's being thrown at us. It's like trying to pick your leadership style or, which motivational speaker to listen to.
Yeah. You can really go be the jack of all trades and the master of none. Right. So really quick, and I know we got limited time, but I want to, I promised some people that I knew were going to be on that I would bring up a couple questions, because I love to give people things to kind of chew on, things to ponder later, things to kind of think about, tomorrow as they're taking their shower and getting ready for their day, when they're kind of reflecting on things. And one of the questions that I wanted everyone to think about when it comes to leadership and real estate success together is I want everyone to think of someone that they interact with now, currently. Maybe it's their mortgage partner. Maybe it's somebody in their office. Maybe it's their actual team leader, whoever it is, someone that they interact with right now in a business sense that they think of as a leader. And I want them to ask themselves, why do they think of that person as a leader? What traits do they have? Not like doesn't have to be their literal leader, right? On paper, just somebody, we all know people that you're like, that's a person that that's just a leader, right? That's a person that if there was a problem, that person I would go to and trust to fix it. Or that person just has a style about them that I ask them for advice and I would take their advice, that kind of thing. Because I think what we see in other people, it's easy. It's easier to see it in other people sometimes because we have our own bias, good and bad bias, about what traits we have or don't have. Sometimes that bias is very skewed for a lot of reasons. But to think about, that's a good thing to ponder is ask yourself, why do you think of that person or people as leaders? And then the second part to that is what have you done as the person thinking about this? What have you done to foster those competencies in yourself, if anything? Because going back to, I think a lot of traits are learned and not just, you don't just, you're not born naturally this great dynamic leader. Ask yourself, have you really taken time and effort in fostering those skills? And that could be reading a book. It could be having a mentor like you, someone that has those traits that they look up to, if you will, in someone else. Practice, as a lot of people have said over the years, practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but it does make permanent. And when we practice the same things, i.e., doing the same things every day, because that's what we all kind of do. We all have habits and things that we kind of do, whether they're working for them or not. We just kind of do the same things over and over again. And so sometimes we think we're going to develop because we're just showing up and working. It's like, well, of course I'm a better leader today, or I'm a better real estate agent today than I was 3 years ago. Well, not necessarily. You could be more experienced. You might have more transactions under your belt, but it doesn't necessarily mean, unless you've really paid attention to mistakes you've made, right, and learned, doesn't necessarily mean that you're better. It just means you're further down the path, if you will. So I think that's an interesting question. And that's why when I'm working with my clients, it's something that we make an actual kind of a plan around, like, what are you going to do to broaden your mind a little bit, Right. Maybe they can borrow your CDs, your Zig or Jim Rohn CDs, but those do work.
Right.
I have my own set of all those myself. They do. Yeah. All that kind of stuff works. You got to have people to look up to and to kind of look at and learn from. In other words, I think is important. But
I'm trying to find the new generation of that group.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that new generation of the old timers.
It's one of the reasons that I'm certainly not comparing myself to Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins or any of those guys. But I will tell you, it's one of the reasons, and I know you do a lot of speaking and you're out there trying to help your peers and help your industry, which is one of the reasons I respect you. Not just your team, which of course you do, but you're also out there. You're involved in NARREP and NAMMBA, and you've been a guest panelist on committees and boards that I'm involved with as well. So you really are committed to helping your industry to raise the bar. And I think, in other words, I think that is the generation. I think you, and you know what I mean? I think you're that next generation. I don't think it's going to be one or two people, maybe like it was 30 years ago when it was Zig and Napoleon Hill and like that ilk of person. I think now it's the industry influencers. I really do. I think it's the people that are out there, that are kind, that aren't bloviating, self-righteous. I don't know. I won't name names, but there's some people in the industry, real estate, that are just very, like you mentioned it when you said, you don't talk about every single transaction you have going on. And by the way, you're welcome. I think people should be happy and proud of what they're doing. But there are those people that like really, that's all they do. They spend half their time just like showing off and bragging about every little thing they're doing. And that's what was cool about that older group of folks, which is they were walk softly and carry a big stick. You know what I mean? They were like humble to a fault. Sometimes they would be jokes and stuff. But it's one of the reasons I now went into what I did, and as kind of a speaker and a coach. And of course, the speaking is kind of on the back burner at the moment. But because I think there needs to be more voices out there, and especially female voices, not to make this a male or female thing, but let's just agree there's not nearly as many females out in the kind of personal development space as there are men. I could name 20 men for every one female that's big out there.
No,
and so I thought, you know what, rather than like sit around and kind of, so I figured, hey, I'll kind of help and add my voice to that whole conversation. So, and like I said, you do it every day by being out there and giving back to your community. So you're the new Zig Ziglar, my friend. You're the new Jim Rohn.
Thanks. I'd love to follow in his
It's true.
footsteps.
It's true. It's true. Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing on social media. I think it's great. I love this group that you created. I think it's wonderful. I definitely been encouraging any groups that I'm a part of to come over and join you because you've been putting out some great content. And I love, speaking of this, I love to hear people interviewed and talk about their experience and their story and their background and how they got to where they're at. I think that is how we all improve by all those things.
Our goal here with this is like, if we can find, I don't want to like come in here and interview a bunch of realtors. I want to interview business leaders and people that help the industry out. Like last week we had Tyler on, and I mean, he's a good friend of mine in Lakeland who runs a company called Dippity. It's all marketing. We all need help with that. Yours is all coaching. How can we become better leaders? And, I'm looking for advice every day because I feel like I leave meetings sometimes or I'm going to an appointment or something. How could I have done that differently? Or how can I be more boisterous with our team? And really, when you leave the meeting, everyone's rah-rah versus like, okay, next, and it's like, that's what I want to get out of those CDs, our conversations and other things. So here's 2 questions for you as an individual, but also a team leader. Like an individual, what are some steps that I can put into my mindset to go into an appointment and feel like I need some, become the leadership of myself? And then same thing on the team lead side. We're not running 50-person teams. We're running a small, 5 to 10-person team. How do you become that authority figure there that people want to respect and come and will work for you? Or just they leave the meetings rah-rah?
Yeah.
It's a long question, but
I'll start with that one. It's a great question. To your point, we could talk, both of us, right, for days on both of those questions. But I'll start with the actual team leader and the growing a team. Maybe you're even an agent that wants to just hire a couple buyer's agents or hire an assistant or something. I think that when you're looking to build a team, or when you are building a team already, that you don't have the luxury anymore of being out of the public eye. In other words, everything you do is being watched because people, the old adage of people don't go to work for companies, they go to work for people, I believe is very true. And as someone who recruited and hired thousands of people over my career, I would tell you that even though I did work for some large companies and some big names, at the end of the day, there was many other teams and regions that these people could have joined. It comes down to, do they want to work with that human being? Do they believe that person can help them in some way that can, grow their life and help them out? And so I think, if you get out of that manager, going back to that difference between manager and leader, if you're someone and you're feeling like, man, it's hard for me to find the right people on my team, I would tell you that if you work on your leadership skills, quite literally, and there's John Maxwell does have some really great workbooks on this. If you really dig in, you'll find that once you become a great leader and people truly know how much you care, right? The people will just come flooding in. It's really amazing how you can attract the great high level of person that you might be looking for. If you're a team leader, a manager, a broker, let's say that just seems to kind of always be getting the bottom of the barrel type of agents to come work for them, people that aren't even focused on real estate. They don't care about it, right? They're not committed to the industry. And that seems like that's all you ever get. I'm telling you, you're the common denominator of why that's happening, right? Because people will want to work for you, myself included, even someone like you, right?
Yep.
That's right. Right. You made a change, I know, with companies. And my guess is, we won't go into it right now, but my guess is that there was a factor of the people that you were going to be working with is a large part of why you made a move. You wouldn't make a change like that in your business unless you felt really confident in the people and the leadership and your peers that you were going to be working with side by side. Correct? I mean, had to be a big factor.
when I moved over from Remax to EXP, we had, it was all of, the primary thing is alignment. It's, I hear so many people that come to our company and then leave because people they were aligned with did not support or did not help or were just, hey, I got them in, now I'm out. And so the group that we have here in Orlando is just like everybody, whether we're underneath them, whatever you want to call it, or not, we're all here aligned to help each other. And I think it's awesome because it's like one big leadership board now. And we're all trying to help each other grow. And I mean, if I'm growing, they're growing, and everyone else is trying to help each other. So that's one of the things when we moved over is like, okay, who am I with? What's the party? What's and who are they surrounded with as well? I mean, I think that was a big aspect for us.
So. Yeah, that's very, very cool. Yeah, I could see that. I would have loved something like that when I was in the banking world, something like a consortium of top-notch leaders like that. Seriously, that I could have I had great coworkers, if anyone was watching, but you know what I mean? Like a really great group of people that I could strategize with.
Yeah.
Nothing against my old peers, not at all. But yeah, it matters. And then the other little tip or hack or whatever you want to say, if someone's watching and maybe they're just overall wanting to kind of, improve their business. And there again, if they're here and want to go here, or they're here and they want to go here, I think the more you work on your confidence, especially when you're talking about going into listing presentations or leading a transaction, confidence, but in a nice way, in a kind way, not in a jerk way. I think a lot of people mistake. They think that you have to be, in order to influence other people, that you have to be, demonstrative or cruel or really condescending and, put people on their place. And I can tell you from being on the finance side for so many years that if you have a nice person that's not a pushover, but that's kind, that, like you said, with that guy you were talking about on that transaction, like that explains things and that like we're all in this together, you can get so far by being that person that like takes charge of the transaction. And if, I'll say this in closing, I know I just will keep talking to you forever. But years ago, I saw an episode of The Dog Whisperer. Have you ever seen this show with Cesar Millan? He's a dog trainer. Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's a dog trainer. But he's made quite a name for himself, over the years, and he's written books. He's got a TV show and everything. And I was watching one of his shows, and he's just be interesting if any of your viewers agree with me. He really is the Dog Whisperer is a perfect name because he's like a magician when it comes to dogs. Anyways, right. But he said something, and I thought it was really interesting. There was a tie-in to business and to our lives every day, which was, he said, anytime there's a pack of animals, in his case, dogs, and humans are animals too. Anytime there's a group, a pack, let's say it's a transaction with 10 people that are involved. He said, anytime there's a pack, and if there's not an alpha, if there's not somebody in that pack, a dog in this case, that's like, I'm in charge here, we're going to go this way. Or you know what, everything's fine, even though something made a loud noise, I'm not going to freak out. So then the rest of the pack doesn't freak out, right? They all follow to see what that one leader, that one alpha dog is doing. It always hit me, that episode, because I thought, that's why some transactions just go totally haywire and crazy, and they're all over the place, and everybody hates each other by the end of it. It's like just a disaster, because somebody, i.e. whatever, the mortgage person, the title rep, whoever it is, there wasn't a person that was strong enough in their leadership skills, the confidence, the competence, the charisma, all that. There wasn't a strong enough person to take charge and say, here's what's going on, and let's fix it by doing X, Y, Z. Come aboard, right? There was that missing. And so there again, maybe that's a tip. If somebody feels like, gosh, I feel like I have a lot of transactions that just seem like they're always on, like they're always a fire drill. They're always like, they always end in a disaster. Don't look outward for somebody else. Don't always go look for a different mortgage person necessarily, or a different title person, or different notary, whatever. Maybe you might be you. And there again, those are really hard things to think of, because we all, it's hard to answer those tough questions, but it could be that you're not exhibiting that confidence in enlisting the confidence from other people. So they're not listening to you, right? They're not trusting what you say. When you say, this is what we'll offer, this is our best and final, they keep going back and forth 10 times because they don't feel like you're really confident. So I think that confidence of all the traits, especially in real estate, really matters.
No, it does. And I think it helps set the authority figure. Not like everyone's trying to become the number one person in the transaction, but if everyone can exude what you're talking about,
That's
it's
right.
going to make it a much more professional transaction. And then my short temper is not going to pop out and like want to go through the phone and choke them. So if everyone does that, it makes it a much better deal. And at the end of the day,
totally.
We all want to get reviews from our clients at the end of the day. It said it was a great transaction. And the minute the other party starts slipping up, it all falls back on you. And I had that happening yesterday and today on a file that the title company had missed something. And all of a sudden now they're late for an appointment because they told the buyers to be here, that double booked. And it's like one thing after another for this client on the day before closing. And I've done a couple of transactions with them this year. And it's like the other ones were such great experiences. And now we're like the final hour. Why is it such a cluster? And we don't want it to be that way for them. So now I'm like, all right, I want to get them a gift card. We're going to do a nice bottle of wine, go to dinner and enjoy yourself and just, just take the time. And thank you again for working with us type stuff. But, it's just kind of a little sorry for what happened. And we appreciate the business and, we want to keep working together. And it's nothing that we did. It's all on that other
Todd? Right. Well, because you're confident enough to know it wasn't you, but there again, you guys are leaders. Somebody has to try to make it right at the end, or at least leave the client with a good last impression, because there again, studies show time and again that last thing, that whatever it is, whether it's the last phone call or the last little gift that you give them or whatever, that's what's going to stand out in their brain. So, I can't tell you over my long career on the other side of the transaction how many agents, not an indictment on them, they're nice people, I'm sure, but how many agents, Todd, just when things would go bad, and mortgage people too, by the way, I'm not discounting my old industry, but how many people when things would go sideways, they would just go like an ostrich. They would just like head in the sand, like just can't be reached. They're just like, they're out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, things are going sideways. I'm just going to just go MIA, which is the total wrong opposite thing to do, of course. But that goes back there again. It goes back to if that's your natural reaction to run when things go bad, start going sideways, that can be fixed. The good news there is cool. Work on that. That's
what we need to get them in and coach them and make sure they're right.
Yeah, because that's a bad way to feel too. By the way, that doesn't feel good when you just want to run when anything goes wrong. So, anyway, well, listen, my friend, I am honored to be on here. I was so excited that we could make this work. Hopefully, our connection isn't totally frozen from our very first screen. It might be, but I'm excited for what you're doing, and thank you again for all the times that you've been a guest panelist, expert panelist for NAMMBA and other organizations. So I appreciate what you do.
No, and thank you for the invite. And when it happens again, we're ready to go back on stage and start giving, advice back and really help out and we're contribute where we can. I kind of miss that because it's like, it's not going to happen again this year, I don't think. So 2021, we're available. Our schedule's wide open.
That's right. That's looking forward. That's exactly right. All right. Well,
that's
listen,
why
have
we're
a great
all
weekend.
doing this stuff right now.
I know you're busy, so thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
I
all right.
appreciate it.
It's all good. Look at it this way. Look. Yeah, we're meeting more people this way, or reaching more people this way, anyways, probably. So it's all
good. Going national. All right.
All right. Take care. Have a good.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Have a good weekend. All right.
All right,
take
you too.
care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.